Missouri is a unique prep. They have 5 guys that can pass, dribble, and shoot that are really hard to guard when they get to the middle of the floor. We've got to make sure that we do our best to control those guys from getting to the middle. When they're able to get to the middle, there's just too many options, and so that will be the priority for us. Can we keep them out of the middle of the floor, and then can we finish the possession with a contested shot and a rebound? Obviously, a lot of teams want to get to the middle, but they will play with 4 guys, maybe 5 guys on the floor at a time that put pressure on your defense and try to get you in rotation. And so we were off on Wednesday, had a good day of work yesterday, better day today. Obviously, we're about to leave, but that's kind of the priority going into Columbia.
Buzz, what's your first reaction or first thought that goes through your mind when you see the way Missouri lost in their last game against Arkansas?
I didn't watch all of it because the previous game they beat a top 5 team in the country from start to finish. The game started, I think, 9-0, 11-3. So I don't know, is it the team that beat Alabama last week, or is it the team that lost to Arkansas later in the week? And I think, you've probably heard coaches say, there'll be 3 games a year that go your way that doesn't make sense, and there'll be 3 games a year that don't go your way that don't necessarily make sense, and whatever's in between is probably what you are. And I think the Arkansas game is one that just got away from them. That's not who they are. 24, I think for sure is the most improved player in this league, one of the more improved players at the high major level in the country. He's beginning to be on draft boards, and he was completely dominant against Alabama. And he's one of the guys that forces you to make decisions when the ball's in the middle of the floor, and I think that's what allows several of those other guys to create opportunities in the channel. So I don't, I'm not coaching the team, so I don't get into that. I want our guys to be the best they can be tomorrow, and so I didn't even study all of it.
Even before last Tuesday, y'all were off to a hot start, 13-2, 2-0. Were you at least a little surprised y'all weren't at least in the receiving votes category of something like the AP poll, or is that something where here in the next couple of weeks you're going to?
Yeah, I think Brent, I don't, typical coach, don't really pay attention to it. I do think that there are opportunities coming our way for something like that. I think the one thing that helped us, and I didn't believe it to be true because it had never happened in my career, but the Tulane game was canceled right before we got on the bus to go play TCU. And we spent that night on the bus and most of Sunday morning trying to find a replacement on that Tuesday, and it wasn't going to work. And then I was a little hesitant to play Dallas Christian, not being disrespectful, just a little hesitant. But it ended up, I think it ignited our guys in a positive way. We couldn't change their travel because they'd already booked when to go home and when to come back. But I think playing them the first day after the first full day we were here was really healthy because players want to play more than they want to practice. And so we played on that Monday and then played again on that Wednesday. And so I think it just allowed us to get in game rhythm faster. And I could be wrong on that. We're looking at it for next year to see, because of Tulane's cancellation, that whole week we had more consecutive practices than you would typically have the week after finals. And then if you take that game that allow you more practices and you move it almost where it's a back-to-back, but it's we got to prepare, we got to watch tape, we got to practice, we got to play, and then the next day you're preparing for the next opponent. In hindsight, I think that helped us with our start.
What
Henry Coleman's been able to do, Coach, how does that help you? Obviously, you dominated the paint the other night. How does he help you when he goes off like that?
I think our coaches have done a really good job in the summer once we kind of knew who was on our team of how are we going to play. And everybody has plays, and when you get to this time of the year, the plays are okay. It's what you do behind the play. And so we spent the summer devising and studying a combination of multiple different things on behind the play. This is how we want to play. I think it's helped all of our guys, and you see baskets that are not from plays that come from our movement discipline. That's what we call it. But specific to Henry's role in that movement, it just fits him perfectly. And even when he doesn't touch it or even get a shot, the pressure he puts on the rim, it also allows maybe cleaner looks for someone other than Henry, but it's a derivative of what Henry did. And our staff has continued to kind of tweak that and make it a little better. And like anybody, when you have success, you do it better and you do it perfectly on time and you know what the looks are. And like some of those assists that Marcus had, particularly in the second half against Ole Miss, it was just coming from our movement. 2 of Dre's baskets, 2 of Henry's baskets were from that. I think he's going to the contact now instead of maybe trying to avoid it, more straight instead of cursive, and I think that's been good for us.
I know there's a lot of factors that go into it, but is the fact that Wade Taylor is heads and away leading y'all in usage percentage speak to the
I love 4. I know I'm not supposed to say that. I love 4. Like, I love watching him play. I love watching him practice. I love watching him in dummy offense. I just think the whole aura goes faster. And I don't want to play like Loyola Marymount Paul Westhead fast, but like when 4's in the game, whether he's dribbling or whether he doesn't have the ball, the pace moves. And like when we've played him and Marcus together, we've got to get to the point maybe where we can figure out how to guard somebody when those 2 guys are in. But when those 2 guys are in offensively, that ball is not sticking ever. And for someone he's not lethal yet, in my opinion. He's going to turn lethal as his body changes. But for someone that causes as much attention as he does from a scoring standpoint, for the pace of your team to pick up the way it does when he plays, I think that says a lot about his relationship with our guys, but it makes everybody better. Boots goes 6 miles an hour faster on the defensive end when 4's on the offensive end. And we have way more, the ball is crossing the half-court line in the air than on the floor when 4's in. Even if he's not the one initiating the break, you can just feel it. And even in dummy offense, like when that's probably not the right word to use publicly, like dry offense, I think, like there's nobody on defense. When 4's in, his group, they're going. And I've gotten to the point now, Travis, even in practice, I just start subbing guys even when we're doing dry offense just so that they can feel the pace. Are you on 4's team? You better go. You're not on 4's team? You can go at my pace. But like he's just a spark plug, so to say.
And is it surprising with being a freshman? It seems like there's not a shot that he's not confident to take, and they're not necessarily bad shots either.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of I don't know if my words will be right on this. You kind of have to live with that's 4. And he's going to miss some, but he's going to make some. But, like, his heart is pumping for Texas A&M, and he's not scared. And it's what happened in his recruitment. Like, he doesn't necessarily look the part. You may go to a game and he didn't shoot it as well. You may go to a game and he was unguardable, but I've loved him from the very beginning, and our staff has too. And I think his family knew from the beginning we were all in. And I've said this to you before, like, I think he's going to have a really good college career.
Was it necessary in the last couple of days to remind your players that Missouri did beat Alabama and not to look to Kentucky? Or do you have guys that you just don't think this team does even have to worry about stuff like that?
Yeah, I could be wrong, and I'm not trying to be immature in my response. I just tell our guys the truth. Hey, guys, y'all saw the score against Arkansas, right? Yes, sir. Y'all know they beat Alabama 3 days before, right? Like, we don't really have those kinds of conversations. Like, are we ranked? I don't know. Are we receiving votes? I didn't know. And in some ways, I think our whole program kind of functions like that. Are we better today, and what is our priority today on how to be better than we were yesterday? And then just do it again and not become bored with doing it again. I think some of that, it's kind of like the rankings with 4. Like, what was he ranked? I don't know. I don't know. I never asked. I never asked who was recruiting him. I never talked to his dad about it. Never talked to his mom. Hey, man, I saw you, and in my soul, I believe in you. And I think that's just kind of how we do it in the program. Like, well, who's ranked, and what's our net, and what about this, and what about that? Man, I don't know. But I know we got a lot of work today, and we need to be a little better than we were yesterday. And let some of the stuff that surrounds the game not impact us.
So not everybody loves numbers as much as you do.
Yeah, too much.
Yeah, and you have fun with it and break it down.
Yep.
How do you find that balance with your players to keep them from getting a glazed eye or whatever?
Yeah, I think some of that's a good question. And I'm more aware of it now than I was maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Some of it, Brent, is probably, we meet as a staff for 45 minutes every day just talking about the big rocks of that particular day. Who's doing what? Why are we doing it? Is there a way to do it better? And so when it's my turn to talk to the team on whatever my rocks are for that day, I've kind of already practiced with the staff. I'm going to say this, this, and this. Is there a way to say it better? And I do study the numbers. But I also think that my relationship with our players off the floor over time, not in November, for sure not before November, but as I get a feel for who they are, what I say to the team may not be what I say to Brent. Because some of those guys, I can give them a little bit more information. Some of those guys, I want to give them just the bare amount. And so, I know the numbers on Arkansas. I know the numbers on Alabama, specific to Missouri. But I don't present it to the team because our team watched the game and they're like, man, they beat Alabama. And then 3 days later, whoa, we just played Arkansas. Arkansas, they started 4 different guys. Like, they're not thinking the number specific to us in our game. And so I think it's just maybe a delicate balance of he wants more, he needs more, he utilizes it the right way versus, like, if you ask our team, what was the transition volume of Arkansas? They go, it's 41%. And that was one of the big rocks. Like, guys, if they shoot 41% of their balls in transition against us, we're going to lose. And so normal transition defense against Arkansas, it won't win. But that was a big rock. That was a number associated with the big rock. We show them clips of the big rock, but that was the only number specific to Arkansas. I would say there's going to be 1 or 2 numbers that I'm going to use and just say it over and over so everybody understands. And then I may give a number or 2 to somebody else, but only because I know that that's good for them.
Anything else? Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.